British Prime Minister Keir Starmer insists his decisions over the war in Iran were the right ones for the country, despite criticisms from the US President Donald Trump. UK's Prime Minister confirms he stands by his decision to not strike Iran.
The long-standing British position is that the best way forward for the regime and the world is a negotiated settlement with Iran where they give up their nuclear ambitions. Now, that's why I took the decision that the UK would not join the initial strikes on Iran, and I stand by it.
That is, Iran wasn't giving up its nuclear ambitions, but Starmer says he hasn't spoken to Donald Trump since the day the war began. And US President Donald Trump has taken aim at the UK's leader in a new New York Post interview, saying, well, he's not Winston Churchill, let me put it that way. It was very disappointing, his performance having to do with our tremendous attack on a hostile nation. He should have been giving us, without question or hesitation, things like bases where we can use others. The US President added that he was taken aback by his UK counterpart's resistance to work with the Pentagon. Rob Powell has more on this.
Material question is, do the angry words from Donald Trump translate into action in other areas, I guess, of the US-UK relationship? For instance, the trade deal, not the full trade deal, but the agreement that was signed around tariffs. Does it have an impact on that? Does it have an impact on Diego Garcia and the Chagos Islands in terms of the US maybe trying to put the brakes completely on that arrangement, or even trying to bypass that arrangement and go and deal directly with the Mauritian government directly? That will be when we figure out actually whether this is sort of all fire and fury from Donald Trump, or whether this is materially eroded how he feels about the UK as an ally, as a partner. Keir Starmer, for his part in that press briefing earlier, I think tried to brush the remarks off by suggesting that the so-called special relationship was something that would endure despite what leaders say, that both leaders have to do what they believe is right for their own country. He made a point as well of saying that he was standing by his principles, the UK's principles, and would not let himself be swayed by pressure. Clearly a reference there to what Donald Trump has been trying to get the UK to do. I think, though, when Keir Starmer was asked about a story that emerged overnight, that actually maybe when ahead of these attacks happening, he was potentially more open to initially letting the US use UK bases, albeit for defensive strikes, but that he actually maybe didn't want to initially refuse that ask. He was asked about that and didn't quite answer the question. He said that basically a request for the US that they'd agreed to didn't come in until Saturday, which is a sort of classic politician way of sidestepping the actual question and answering a different question. So that does make me wonder where Sir Keir Starmer's sort of heart and instinct lay on this right at the beginning.